"Mommy, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy!" Little Daniel shouted as he rushed into his mother's room holding a kitchen knife. "Daniel, what's bothering you, and what are you doing with that knife?" his mother, Mrs. Evelyn, asked in shock. "Mommy, please come and see what I did in the kitchen," Daniel said innocently. "Daniel, what did you do, and why is the red stain all over your shirt and hands?" Mrs. Evelyn asked, her voice trembling. "Mommy, I used your knife to do what that auntie did to that uncle in the movie we watched last night. She fell on the ground just like the uncle in the movie. I called her several times, but she refused to answer. I even tried to wake her up so we could finish our breakfast, but she didn't move or say anything. Please come and wake her up from her sleep so we can finish our breakfast and go to school," Daniel explained innocently. "Daniel, you did what?" "Jesus, oh Jesus, my only daughter. Oh no, Daniel, don't tell me what I'm thinking," Mrs. Evelyn screamed as she dashed out of the room. When she reached the kitchen, she froze in horror at what she saw. Once upon a time, there lived a couple named Ezekiel and Evelyn, who had been married for 17 years without a child. But after many years of waiting, God blessed them with two wonderful children, Daniel and Grace. The family lived happily in Port Elora, a peaceful city by the riverside. Everything was going well until Ezekiel traveled abroad for a multi-million-dollar contract, leaving his wife and children back in Nigeria. One night, Evelyn and her children were watching an action movie in the bedroom when their housemaid Mama Rose walked in. "Daniel, Grace, it's time to sleep. Your rooms are ready." "Auntie, we're not ready to sleep yet. We want to finish watching this movie first," Daniel replied. "Daniel, it's already late. You need to sleep so you can wake up early for school tomorrow," Mama Rose said patiently. "What exactly is wrong with you, woman? Can't you see my children are enjoying themselves?" Evelyn snapped. "I'm sorry, Ma, but I just don't want them to sleep late and feel tired in class tomorrow," Mama Rose explained. "Look, woman, I didn't hire you to train my children. I hired you to look after them. Now get out of my room," Evelyn shouted angrily. "Yes, Ma, but may I say something before I go? The kind of movie you're allowing these children to watch isn't good for their age. It could affect their minds negatively." "What does a poor woman like you know about raising children? Get out of my room," Evelyn barked. "I love my children, and I'll do anything lawful to make them happy. You don't know what I went through before God gave them to me." "Please, Ma, I'm only speaking from experience as a mother. I've raised 5 children, though 4 have sadly passed away. I know what children can do when exposed to the wrong things," Mama Rose replied calmly. "My own grandson once tried to suffocate his twin sister with a pillow after watching an action movie. You can't compare your children to mine. My children are intelligent and well-trained. Now get out of my sight," Evelyn shouted, pushing her out of the room. Mama Rose went to her room and cried bitterly as memories of her late husband filled her mind. Meanwhile, back in the bedroom, Daniel asked, "Mommy, did that uncle in the movie really die?" "No, he didn't, sweetheart. He's just acting. He'll wake up when the movie is over," Evelyn replied. That night, Mama Rose had a terrible dream. In her dream, she was in the bathroom when she suddenly heard Grace screaming loudly. She quickly wrapped a towel around herself and ran to see what was wrong. When she got there, she saw Grace lying lifeless on the floor, with red stains all around her head, while Daniel stood nearby, crying and trying to lift her. "Jesus Christ! Daniel, what happened to Grace?" Mama Rose cried out. "Grandma, we were acting what we saw in the movie. Grace kicked me in the stomach, so I pushed her and she hit her head on the wall," Daniel explained in tears. Just as Mama Rose was about to carry Grace to the hospital, Evelyn rushed in from outside. "What happened to my daughter?" Evelyn screamed. "She needs medical attention immediately. Please, let's take her to the hospital. I'll explain everything later," Mama Rose pleaded. They hurriedly rushed Grace to the hospital, but sadly she passed away on the way there. Evelyn broke down in uncontrollable tears and accused Mama Rose of killing her daughter. She reported everything to the police, and poor Mama Rose was arrested. Later, she was sentenced to death by hanging. As they were about to execute her, Mama Rose screamed loudly and suddenly woke up from her sleep. She was sweating and trembling. "Oh my God, it was a dream," she gasped. Quickly, she ran to Evelyn's room and found her watching the same action movie with Daniel and Grace. "Mama Rose," Evelyn said with irritation, pausing the movie, "what is it again this night? Can't you see we're busy?" "Please, Ma, I'm only speaking from experience as a mother. I had a terrible dream about you and the children. I need to speak with you privately. It's very important." Evelyn rolled her eyes. "Woman, whatever you have to say it here. I don't have time for all this drama." "Please, Ma, I can't say it in front of Daniel and Grace. It concerns them." "Are you out of your mind? Can't I have peace in my own house? You're disturbing me over your useless dreams," Evelyn shouted. "I'm sorry, Ma. After today, I'll never bother you again. But please, just come and hear what I have to say," Mama Rose begged, her hands clasped together. At that, Evelyn's anger flared. She picked up the glass of juice she was drinking and poured it all over Mama Rose. "Get out of my sight, you foolish woman," Evelyn yelled. Mama Rose's eyes welled up with tears as she quietly walked back to her room. She knelt by her bed and began to cry, praying softly, "Oh Lord, please protect these children. Don't let what I saw come to pass." But just 10 minutes later, Mama Rose's heart became heavy again. She felt an unexplainable burden, like something terrible was about to happen. She quickly got up and rushed back to Evelyn's room. Evelyn, still sitting on her bed, turned and shouted, "This woman, what exactly is your problem tonight? Please, Ma, I beg you in the name of God, just listen to me. What I saw is very serious." "You have 1 minute to talk," Evelyn snapped. Mama Rose began to speak, but before she could finish describing her dream, Evelyn interrupted angrily. "I don't have time for pointless talk. Keep your foolish dream to yourself. You think I'll allow your bad dreams to control my house? Please leave my presence right now." She pushed Mama Rose out of the room and locked the door. Mama Rose stood outside the door for a few seconds, her heart pounding, then walked back to her room, whispering to herself, "Lord, I've done my best. Only you can stop what's coming." The next morning, Mama Rose woke up early, trembling with fear. "I can't stay in this house any longer," she said to herself. "I sense danger everywhere. If I don't leave now, something terrible will happen, and I might be blamed." She quickly packed her clothes into a small bag and went to Evelyn's room. "Good morning, Ma," Mama Rose greeted, bowing slightly. Evelyn looked up with folded arms. "Where are you going this early morning dressed like that? Have you bathed the kids? Have you made breakfast?" "I'm very sorry, Ma, but I can't continue working here. I want to resign this morning." Evelyn frowned. "And why are you quitting?" "Ma, I don't like how you treat me in this house. You speak to me like a child, and it reminds me of my late husband. I'm old enough to be your mother. If my husband were still alive, I wouldn't be working like this. Please, let me go. My heart is no longer in this job," Mama Rose said, tears rolling down her cheeks. Evelyn scoffed. "What's all this nonsense? I asked you a simple question, and you're telling me a story. Anyway, if you want to leave, go ahead. There are many people looking for this kind of job. I won't beg you to stay." "Thank you, Ma," Mama Rose said quietly. "But please, I've worked for 3 weeks and 5 days. Kindly pay me for my time." Evelyn looked at her coldly. "If you want your salary, you'll first prepare my children's breakfast, get them ready for school, and clean their rooms. Do that, then you can leave." "Yes, Ma," Mama Rose replied softly and left the room. She went to the kitchen, prepared breakfast, bathed Daniel and Grace, and got them dressed for school. Soon, they sat at the dining table, happily eating their food. While they ate, Evelyn's phone rang. It was her husband, Ezekiel, calling from abroad.
She handed the phone to the children so they could speak with him. "Daddy, when are you coming back?" Daniel asked excitedly. "I'll be home this weekend, son." "What do you want me to bring for you?" Ezekiel asked. "Buy me a toy gun, Daddy. I'll use it to play with Grace," Daniel said cheerfully. Ezekiel chuckled. "All right. And what about you, my princess?" "Daddy, buy me a teddy bear," Grace replied with a bright smile. When the call ended, Daniel turned to his sister. "Grace, let's go to the kitchen and do what that auntie and uncle did in the movie we watched last night. We'll use Mommy's phone to record it so that when Daddy returns, we can show him." Grace laughed. "Okay, I'll be the auntie and you'll be the uncle." They went to the kitchen and placed the phone in a steady position to record. Daniel picked up 2 large kitchen knives, one for himself and one for Grace. Then they began to act out the scene they had seen in the movie the night before. But while playing, Grace accidentally cut Daniel's arm. Out of anger, Daniel shouted, "You hurt me!" And in the heat of the moment, he struck her with the knife in return. Grace screamed and fell to the ground, motionless. Daniel's anger vanished instantly. He dropped the knife and knelt beside her.
Grace, please get up. I'm sorry. Let's finish our breakfast so Mommy can take us to school, he said, shaking her gently. But Grace didn't move. Grace, please talk to me. I said I'm sorry. Stand up, Daniel cried, tears streaming down his face. After calling her several times and getting no response, Daniel ran to his mother's room, still holding the knife. Mommy, 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 he shouted as he burst into her room. Daniel, what's wrong with you? And what are you doing with that knife? Evelyn asked in alarm. Mommy, please come and see what I did to Grace in the kitchen, Daniel said innocently. Evelyn's face turned pale. What did you do to Grace? And why are there red stains all over your uniform and hands? Mommy, I used your knife to do what that auntie did to that uncle in the movie. She fell down like the uncle, but she won't wake up. I tried calling her so we could finish breakfast and go to school, but she won't talk or move. Please, Mommy, come and wake her up, Daniel said sincerely. Evelyn froze, her body trembling. You did what? Jesus, my God, my only daughter. She locked Daniel inside her room and ran downstairs in panic. Just as she got to the living room, Mama Rose was coming out with her bag. Where's Grace? And where do you think you're going with your belongings? Evelyn asked, her voice shaking. Ma, I didn't see Grace. Please let me go. I don't want to stay here anymore, Mama Rose replied fearfully. Follow me to the kitchen right now, she screamed. They both ran to the kitchen, and when Evelyn entered, she froze in shock. Her knees went weak, and the phone in her hand fell to the floor. Grace was lying lifeless on the ground, her uniform soaked in red stains. Evelyn let out a heart-piercing scream that echoed through the house. Evelyn slammed a trembling hand on Mama Rose's shoulder and hissed, Woman, what exactly did you do to my daughter? She grabbed Mama Rose's apron, staring at the red stains on her sleeve. You are the one. You killed my daughter and you want to run away. I will not rest until you die miserable. Mama Rose shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I did not do anything to her, Ma. I will leave no stone unturned, she snarled. She shoved Mama Rose roughly, then ran out of the house and drove recklessly to the hospital. Mama Rose stood in the compound, sobbing and trembling. Oh God, why me? Why was I born to suffer like this? She wailed. Have mercy on me. Please don't let anything happen to the little girl. If she dies, I am finished. At the emergency entrance, Evelyn burst into the ward and thrust Grace into the doctor's arms. Nurses moved with urgent hands.
Minutes dragged like hours. Finally, a doctor stepped forward and said in a low voice, "We did everything, ma'am, but we have lost her." Evelyn collapsed to the floor, keening. Doctors and nurses rushed to tend to her. 45 minutes later, she came back to herself and whispered, "Where is my daughter? Where is my daughter?" "Please calm down, madam," the doctor said gently. "We did our best. This is not the end of your life." Evelyn looked up with the raw, hollow grief of a mother who had just been emptied. "You will never understand the shame and humiliation I endured before God blessed me with that girl," she cried. A nurse tried to comfort her. "Ma'am, God will give you strength. Try to be strong." Evelyn could not accept it. She fumbled for her phone and called Ezekiel. "Hello? What is going on? Why are you crying?" he asked, alarmed. "Angel, Grace, what happened to my princess? I spoke with her less than 3 hours ago," Ezekiel demanded. Evelyn started the video call and held the phone so Ezekiel could see the lifeless child. "Jesus Christ!" he shouted into the line, stunned. "Who killed my daughter?" Ezekiel barked, fury and grief smashing together. I don't know where she is. I found her like this. Don't touch her. Don't feed her. No one must move anything until I return. If anyone harmed my child, I will..." His voice trembled and broke. Evelyn took Grace's small body back home in a car, still hysterical. As they arrived, Daniel stood in the living room with the small phone he had used to record earlier. He looked pale and small. "Mommy, he began, but Evelyn cut him off. "Show me the video," she demanded. Daniel handed over the phone. On the screen, the shaky kitchen footage played. 2 children pretending the movie scene, one a faint, the other reacting. Then a moment of panic. The slip, the knife, then silence. It was short, but the image of Grace collapsing was there. Evelyn's face hardened. Rage and fear replaced grief for a moment. She grabbed Daniel and beat him mercilessly, her hands driven by a grief-stricken fury that nearly crushed the boy. He fell to the floor, sobbing. When she finally stopped, her resolve had taken a cruel shape. She wiped the video from the phone, then gathered herself and began planning what to tell people. "If anyone knows the truth that my son killed my daughter, he will be taken away. I cannot let them execute my child," she whispered to herself. "No, I will accuse Mama Rose. I will say she killed Grace." Evelyn called the neighbors and relatives. Before long, Ezekiel's parents and Evelyn's own family arrived at the house, furious and shocked by the tragedy. They led Mama Rose outside and pressed her for answers.
Evelyn painted the scene with controlled fury. "I was in my room getting Daniel and Grace ready when my husband called. I handed the phone to the children and dashed back to finish getting ready. 5 minutes later, Daniel came to give me the phone. As I was about to return to eat, I heard Grace screaming from downstairs. When we rushed down, we found Mama Rose trying to open the gate to run away with her belongings. She had blood on her hands and clothes. I stopped her and asked why she was running, and she could not answer. Then I saw Grace lying on the floor." Mama Rose could not speak for the torrent of tears. She sobbed and stammered, unable to string a clear sentence. Ezekiel's mother was white with fury. "How could you kill that innocent child?" Ezekiel's father demanded, his voice full of accusation. "Why did you want to run away the moment this happened?" "I swear by my late husband's grave, I did not kill her," Mama Rose wailed. Evelyn's father stepped forward, eyes cold. "You are an evil woman. How can anyone believe you didn't do this when you were the only one downstairs with her?" "That woman is a witch," Ezekiel's father spat, pointing a shaking finger at Mama Rose. "She most likely tried to kill the little girl spiritually, and when that failed, decided to kill her physically. She was going to run, but God exposed her. She must be stoned or buried alive. She deserves to die painfully." "You are right," Ezekiel's mother agreed. But she added, "Let us wait until Ezekiel returns from abroad before we do anything."
They dragged Mama Rose back into the small room, locked the door, and left her there without food. For 2 days, she cried and wailed, her sobs filling the empty house. A few days later, Ezekiel finally returned from his trip. He went straight to the mortuary to see his daughter's body. When he arrived back at the compound, grief and fury warred in him. He stormed into the house, grabbed a pistol from his bedroom, and raced to the room where Mama Rose was locked. He forced the door open and stood over her. "I give you 5 seconds to explain why you killed my only daughter. Explain or I'll shoot," he thundered. "Please, just kill me," Mama Rose begged, voice broken. "I want to die. I'm tired of suffering. Kill me. End my misery." Her plea startled him. For a moment, Ezekiel's rage faltered. He stared at the small, shaking woman who had been beaten and humiliated by the family. He turned away and walked out of the room, the gun heavy in his hand. He went to find Evelyn. "Monica, Evelyn, tell me what happened to my daughter," he demanded. "I don't believe that poor woman could have killed Grace. She looks innocent. How could she do such a thing?" Evelyn squared her shoulders, anger and calculation warring behind her eyes. "I was in my room getting them ready when you called. I handed the phone to the children and went back to dress. 5 minutes later, Daniel brought the phone back. As I was leaving the room, I heard Grace screaming. We rushed downstairs and found Mama Rose trying to open the gate to run away with her belongings. She had blood on her hands and clothes. I stopped her and asked why she was running, and she could not answer. Then I saw Grace lying on the floor. She had blood on her hands and clothes. I stopped her, asked what was happening, and she could not explain. Then we found Grace in the kitchen." Ezekiel did not reply. He went to Daniel's room. Daniel sat on his bed, clutching a small toy and staring at a picture of his sister, tears streaking his face. Ezekiel closed the door and crouched in front of the boy. "You are the only person I trust in this house," he said hoarsely. "Tell me exactly what happened to Grace." Daniel's mouth trembled. He remembered his mother's whispered order. "Tell them you came to give Mommy the phone, that you both heard Grace scream, that Mama Rose tried to run." He swallowed hard, and with a crack in his voice said, "Daddy, after we spoke with you, I gave Mommy the phone. I was about to go back to breakfast when I heard Angel, Grace, scream downstairs. Mommy ran down and I followed. When we got there, we saw Mama Rose trying to open the gate with her bag. She had blood on her hands. Then we found Grace on the floor." Ezekiel's jaw clenched. "So, it is true," he muttered. His eyes hardened. "I will kill that woman today." He stormed toward the small room where Mama Rose was held. At the door, Mama Rose lifted her face and said in a whisper, "Before you kill me, tell your wife to give me my phone. I want to call my only surviving child. Let me say my final prayer for her. I don't want my life to end in the same misery." Ezekiel looked at her for a long moment, the weight of fatherhood and grief pressing on him. He walked out of the room again, sat down in the parlor, and did not move. Inside, Ezekiel's heart softened enough to call for food for the locked woman. "Go tell your mother to give her something to eat," he ordered. Daniel was sent to find Evelyn. When Daniel told her, Evelyn flew into a rage. "How dare you ask that I feed the woman who killed my daughter? Get out of my sight," she screamed. Daniel ran back and reported to his father what had happened. Ezekiel stood, furious at his wife's cruelty. "Monica, give her food. She has been locked up for 5 days without anything to eat," he said in a voice that trembled between command and pleading. "Why would I feed someone who killed our only daughter?" Evelyn shouted back. "No, I will never give her food." Ezekiel did not argue further. He needed counsel. His phone rang. A friend's name appeared on the screen. "Hello?" Armand answered. Armand, where are you? I'm at the compound. Come quickly. When Armand arrived, Ezekiel explained, voice low and pained, what Evelyn had told him, that she'd been getting the children ready for school, had handed them the phone, and 5 minutes later, Daniel returned the phone and they heard Grace scream. They rushed downstairs and found Mama Rose trying to open the gate with her bag. She had blood on her hands. Then they found Grace on the floor.
Ezekiel, this is quite unbelievable. Where is the woman who killed your daughter? Armand asked. Armand was taken to the small room where Mama Rose was held. Her face was swollen from crying. When Armand stepped out, he shook his head. Ezekiel, I find it hard to believe that the poor woman killed Grace. She doesn't look capable of hurting flies, let alone a child. Ezekiel frowned. Her face may look innocent, but people can hide a devilish heart. The town is full of wickedness. He paused. I agree with you, but I'm confused. Part of me wants to kill her, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Armand put a hand on his shoulder. Hand her over to the police and bury your daughter. That's the right thing. Ezekiel answered, voice tight. That's what I wanted to do, but my family won't let it be. They will leave no stone unturned until she is executed. There are strict rules in our kingdom. What rules? Armand asked. You know my family is royal, Ezekiel said. My uncle is a king. The law says anyone who kills royal blood must be executed, either stoned to death or burned alive. The news is already spread. People are waiting for my return. The circumstances are beyond my control. Armand sighed. Do your best and leave the rest to God. The next day, Ezekiel, Evelyn, and their families went to the palace. Evelyn told the king and his council everything that had happened the day Grace died. I was in my room getting Daniel and Grace ready when my husband called and asked me to give the phone to the children, she said. I rushed downstairs and then returned to finish getting ready. 5 minutes later, Daniel brought me the phone. As he was about to go back to the table, I heard Grace screaming. When we hurried downstairs, I found Mama Rose trying to open the gate to run away with her belongings. She had blood on her hands and clothes. I stopped her, asked why she was running, and she could not answer. When I entered the kitchen, I saw Grace lying dead on the floor. The king summoned Mama Rose to the palace. She sat on the floor, trembling, as the monarch addressed her. Can you tell us why you killed the little girl whose parents entrusted you to care for? His Majesty asked. Your Majesty, I did not kill her, Mama Rose pleaded. I was cleaning their room when I heard Grace scream. I rushed downstairs. I saw the children at the dining table at first, but then could not find them. When I went to the kitchen, I was shocked to see Grace lying there. I became terrified and left to get my things because I had already told my madame I intended to quit. She asked me to finish my duties before leaving, which I had done. Did you meet anyone when you came downstairs? No, Your Majesty, Mama Rose said. Was the door open or locked? He pressed. The door was locked, Your Majesty, she answered. But when I discovered the child I cared for lying dead, I panicked. I tried to tell Madame about a dream I had the night before. It matched what I feared would happen, but she refused to listen.
Madam, the king turned to Evelyn. Did this woman try to warn you the night before? Evelyn snapped. No, Your Majesty, she's lying. She came looking for a way to cover up her crime. Mama Rose shook her head. After I had the dream about your children, I came to your room twice and begged you to listen, but you poured juice on me and pushed me out. The king and his council murmured. Which room did you come to? The king asked again. Evelyn glared. This woman is guilty of the crown. I do not understand how a reasonable person would see a child they were hired to care for lying dead and try to flee instead of informing the parents. That is correct, the Prime Minister declared. She must face consequences. Ezekiel, the king said, you know the law of this land. Decide whether the youth should stone her to death or burn her alive. Your Majesty, I want her to go to prison rather than be stoned or burned alive, Ezekiel begged. That is impossible, the king replied sternly. The only options are stoning or burning. Ezekiel pleaded, Please, Your Majesty, allow me to handle my daughter's case myself. That cannot happen, the king said. Angel, Grace, is my granddaughter and of royal blood. This woman must be executed. Ezekiel's father echoed the king's words in fierce agreement. Ezekiel stormed angrily out of the palace. The king asked Evelyn which execution she preferred, stoning or burning. Evelyn chose burning. The king ordered that she be handed to the youth to carry out the sentence. As the youths prepared to lead Mama Rose away, she begged, Your Majesty, please allow me to call my only surviving child and my 2 grandchildren. Let me tell them what I have suffered before you burn me. They don't know what I'm going through. There is no time, the king said. Take her away. The youths dragged her off and began to beat her. When they reached the place where they were to burn her, they wrapped tires around her and doused her with fuel. As they were about to set her alight, everyone watching was stunned by what happened next. What do you think happened next? Can you guess? Oh yeah, comment below. I will be in the comments. Where are you watching from? Paste it in the comments too. Let's interact. Please, if you enjoy this story, leave a comment, like, and share. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell to be notified whenever I drop episode 2. Thanks a million for watching. Bye bye.